43 years old, 2 jobs, no debt, and still could not explain where the money went. That was Connie. And if you had met her on a Tuesday morning, she would have told you she was fine. She would have meant it. She was not the kind of woman who complained. She was the kind of woman who adjusted, who recalculated, who got up the next day and tried a different way. And she had been doing that for so long that trying had become its own kind of exhaustion. The kind that doesn't show on your face, because you learned very early that showing it doesn't help anything. But there was something she did on a Sunday evening in October that I want to tell you about. Not yet. First, I need you to understand where she was standing before that night, because what she found and what she did with it is the reason I am sitting here talking to you right now. Have you ever felt like you are working hard enough for 3 women and living like you are barely keeping one life together? Have you ever looked at your bank balance on a Thursday before payday and felt something in your stomach that you could not name? Something that was not quite fear, but was not quite peace either? Have you ever thought, I am not being careless. I am not being reckless. So why does this keep happening? Then this is for you, all the way to the end. Because the answer is not what you think it is. And the woman who found it was not special. She was just like you. She was just like me. She was just paying attention to the right thing for the first time. Connie Marsh was a home health aide in a mid-sized city in central Tennessee, the kind of city that is not quite big enough to be expensive and not quite small enough to feel safe. She drove to her clients' homes 5 days a week, sometimes 6, in a white hatchback with 162,000 miles on it, and a heat knob that worked only if you pushed it in at an angle before turning. She had learned the angle. It had taken 1 winter. She was 43 years old with a broad, still face and hands that had given more comfort to other people than most hands ever do in a lifetime. She bathed elderly women. She helped them dress. She sat with them during their difficult hours and did not flinch and did not rush. She made $9.75 an hour at one job and $11 at the other, which was through a private family who paid her in cash every Friday in an envelope she always opened in the car before driving away. Not because she didn't trust them, but because she had been shorted once, years ago, and once was enough. She had 2 kids, both grown, both out of the house. She was alone in her apartment, in the way that is technically freedom, but practically quiet, in a way you have to get used to. She kept the TV on in the evenings, not because she was watching it, but because a voice in the room changed the texture of the silence. She had the habit of keeping a single rubber band around her wrist. Not a hair tie, a rubber band, the thick kind that comes around broccoli at the grocery store. She moved it from wrist to wrist throughout the day without noticing she was doing it. She had done it for years. People asked sometimes. She always said she didn't know why she started. That was not exactly true. She had started it the year her mother died, the year Connie was 31 and had nothing saved and had to ask her aunt for $300 to help with the burial costs, and had felt, in that moment at her aunt's kitchen table with the check being written in front of her, something she had promised herself she would never feel again. The rubber band was a reminder of that kitchen table, of that promise. She had kept the rubber band for 12 years without the savings to back it up, which was its own kind of grief. In the back of her closet, behind her winter coats, and a box of her mother's things she had never been able to open, there was a small tin with a floral lid, the kind that used to hold hard candies. Inside the tin, there was a folded index card with one word written on it in her own handwriting. Enough. And around the word in the margins, in different pens over different years, small amounts. $5, $8, $12. The tin held $41 in cash, mostly ones and fives, accumulated over several years in the small, irregular way of a woman who puts away what survives the month. She had never told anyone about the tin. It was not a budget. It was not a plan. It was a prayer that hadn't found its form yet. The thing about Connie was that she had tried. She had tried the budget apps. She had tried the envelopes. She had tried writing things down in a notebook for 2 months in 2019 until the notebook ran out and she didn't buy another one because that felt like spending money on the problem instead of solving it. She had tried no eating out for a month. She had tried the automatic transfer into savings, $10 a week, which worked until January when the car registration came due and the transfer had to be paused and somehow was never restarted. Every plan she made had a place where it fell apart, and the place was always the same. It was not laziness. It was not a coffee habit or a shopping problem or any of the things that articles about broke people suggest. It was the gap between one paycheck and the thing that happened before the next one. The water heater, the tire, the copay she didn't expect. The month her hours got cut because one of her clients was hospitalized and the family didn't need her for 3 weeks. Each of these things alone was manageable. Together, across 12 months, they formed a pattern that reset her to zero every time she got close to something. In August, the private family she worked for on Fridays told her they were moving. The mother was going into memory care. They were sorry. They gave her 2 weeks' notice and a card with $60 in it. She thanked them. She drove home. She sat in the white hatchback in the parking lot of her building for a long time. That was $320 a month gone. She picked up extra shifts through her main agency. The agency took its cut. The net was not the same. By September, she was short on the electric bill, not by much, $47. But she had to call and ask for an extension, and the woman on the phone was professional and not unkind, and that somehow made it worse. A stranger being polite about the fact that Connie could not cover $47. She hung up and went to the closet and opened the floral tin. $41. She took 30 of it and paid the electric company through the app on her phone. Then she put the 10 back. Then she stood there holding the tin with $11 in it and the index card with "enough" written on it, and felt something she recognized from a long time ago, from a kitchen table, from a check being written in front of her. She put the tin back behind the coats. She closed the closet. She went to the kitchen and started making dinner and turned the TV on, and did not think about it for the rest of the night, because thinking about it had never once changed anything. That was October 1st, a Thursday. 3 days later was the Sunday I told you about at the beginning. The Sunday that changed everything. But we are not there yet. On Sunday, she took a bus across town to the laundromat on Fletcher Street because her building's machines were being repaired, and she had put off laundry for 2 weeks and could not put it off anymore. She sat in the plastic chair with her phone in her lap while the machines ran. The laundromat was warm and smelled of detergent, and the low rumble of the dryers was the kind of sound that makes you tired without putting you to sleep. 2 other people were there, a young man reading something on a tablet, and an old woman in the corner, doing nothing. Not reading, not looking at a phone. Simply sitting with her hands resting open on her knees, looking at the machines the way you look at a fire, not thinking, just watching. She was maybe 78, maybe older. She wore a housecoat under a zip-up sweater, and her hair was white and close-cropped. Her shoes were clean and very plain. She had the look of a woman who had simplified everything down to what was real and had found, in that simplicity, a kind of authority. At some point, the young man's dryer finished and he left, and it was just the 2 of them with the machines and the warmth and the sound. The old woman spoke without turning her head away from the dryers. "You look like you're carrying a bill you didn't open." Connie looked up. "I'm sorry?" "In your face." The old woman turned now, eyes calm, dark, unhurried, like something landed and you set it down, but you didn't set it all the way down. Connie was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I've been working on a money problem for about 12 years. The old woman looked at her for a long time without speaking. The dryers turned. Someone outside walked past the glass, and the shadow moved and was gone. "My mother used to say," the old woman said, and her voice had the particular texture of someone who is remembering something true, "that you can't fill a bucket while the bottom's still open." Connie waited for more. There was no more. The woman looked back at the machines. The bucket, she said, after a pause that was not awkward but weighty, is just a bucket. It doesn't know you're trying. It doesn't care how hard you pour. You fix the bottom first, then you pour. Connie looked at the floor. She thought about the envelopes and the apps and the automatic transfer that got paused in January and never restarted. She thought about the tin. She thought about 12 years of pouring. A buzzer went off. The old woman stood slowly, with the unhurried deliberateness of someone who no longer rushes for anything, transferred her clothes to a bag, folded the bag over her arm, and walked to the door. She stopped before she pushed it open. "You know how to fix it," she said, without turning around. "You've known. You just kept pouring instead." She left. The door swung closed. Connie sat in the plastic chair with her hands in her lap and the dryers running and the warmth of the room pressing in. And something shifted in her the way tectonic things shift, without sound, without warning, and without reversing. She got home. She put her laundry away. She made tea. And she sat at the kitchen table, the TV off, for the first time in she didn't know how long, and she thought. The Sunday in October, this was it. This was what I told you about at the beginning. And what she found that night was not a new app, or a new system, or a new version of a plan she had already made and abandoned. What she found was the thing underneath all of those plans, the thing that had been making them leak. The first stage of women who stopped being broke, and she understood this now with a clarity that felt like something being switched on, is the stage of being in motion without direction. It looks like trying. From the outside, it is indistinguishable from trying. You are making moves. You are making budgets. You are making transfers. But you are doing all of it without ever sitting still long enough to ask, what is the actual whole? Not the symptoms, the whole. Connie had been treating symptoms for 12 years. The gap, the emergency, the shortfall. She had been so busy responding that she had never diagnosed. Stage 1 is when you mistake movement for progress. Most women live here for years. Some live here forever. The second stage, and this is the one nobody talks about because it is the most uncomfortable, is the stage of honest inventory. Not what you wish you spent, not what you think you spent, what you actually spent, on what, with what feelings attached, for what reasons that had nothing to do with the thing you were buying. Connie had never done this. She had budgeted forward, estimated forward, planned forward. She had never looked back with clear eyes at the real pattern. And the real pattern she saw now at her kitchen table was not random. The emergency fund got wiped every 4 to 5 months. Not sometimes, every time. Which meant the emergency fund was not a fund at all. It was a buffer that was being asked to carry a structural problem. You cannot buffer your way through a structural problem. You have to look at it directly and name what it is. The third stage is when you discover what the bucket's hole actually is. For Connie, it was not what she had assumed for 12 years. She had assumed the hole was income, not enough coming in. And that was partially true. But the larger hole, the one she had never looked at directly, was timing. Her expenses were steady. Her income was not. It fluctuated by the week, by the season, by which client got hospitalized or which family moved away. She had been building plans designed for a steady income on top of an income that was anything but, and they had been collapsing on schedule every time her hours shifted, which they always did. She had been blaming herself for 12 years for the failure of a plan that had never been designed for her actual life. That was not a character flaw. That was a design flaw. And that was fixable. The fourth stage is the one the title of this video warned you about. Almost no one reaches it, because it requires something most of us were never taught. It requires you to stop negotiating with yourself. Connie had spent 12 years negotiating. I'll restart the transfer next month. I'll be more careful next week. I'll do the envelope system again when things settle down. And things never settle down because things do not settle down on their own. They require the kind of decision that does not leave a back door. She had always left a back door, a reason why this time didn't count, a caveat built into every commitment. Stage 4 is when you make the decision without the back door, not perfectly, not with all the money you need or all the certainty you want. With what you have right now, closing the door behind you. The fifth stage is rebuilding at the speed of your real life, not the speed of someone else's success story. Connie had read enough articles about people who paid off $20,000 in 18 months to have developed a private shame about the pace of her own progress. What she understood on that Sunday was that her pace was her pace, built for her income, her expenses, her emergencies, her life. A slow, real, unbreakable plan beats a fast, borrowed, impossible one every single time. The turtle wins not because she is patient, but because she never stops being realistic about what she can actually carry. The sixth stage, and this is the one she had not expected, is the stage where you grieve what you lost. Not money, time. Connie sat at her kitchen table and understood, quietly, that 12 years of trying had not been wasted exactly, but they had been harder than they needed to be, and she had been blaming herself for a problem she had been seeing wrong, and that required grieving. Not loudly, not with drama. Just the small, clean grief of a woman who was kind enough to finally tell herself the truth about how long she had been carrying the wrong diagnosis with the full force of her considerable strength. She cried a little. Then she dried her face. Then she got a piece of paper and a pen and she started writing. Not a budget, a map of her real income, her real holes, her real timing. For the first time in 12 years, she was looking at the actual terrain. It took 4 months before anything looked different from the outside. She did not announce it. She did not tell her kids. She moved her automatic transfer from $10 a week to $22 a week, an amount she had calculated could survive a bad month without being paused, because if it got paused again, she knew from experience it would not restart. $22 was not impressive. It was not a number anyone would congratulate her for. It was a number that was true. She called the agency and had a direct conversation about her scheduling preferences, something she had avoided for 4 years because she did not want to be seen as difficult. She said she needed predictability in her hours. She needed to know in advance when clients were going to be unavailable so she could plan. The coordinator seemed surprised, not annoyed, surprised, as if no one had ever asked in quite that way. She was accommodated more than Connie had expected. Not perfectly, but more. She picked up a third client on Saturday mornings, a woman named Ruth who was 91 and who mostly wanted someone to sit with her and look out the window at the bird feeder in the yard. Connie sat. She watched the birds. She let herself be paid to be present, and she found, in those Saturday mornings, something she had not expected to find in the process of getting her finances in order. Stillness, the permission to exist without producing. Her daughter called in December and said she sounded different. Different how? Connie asked. Like you're not holding your breath. Connie didn't say anything for a moment. Then she said, I'm not. There were women she worked with who noticed she had stopped joining the conversations about how impossible everything was. She had not stopped believing everything was hard. She had stopped feeding the belief that hard meant hopeless. Those are two different things, and people don't always like it when you figure out the difference, because it asks a question they're not ready to answer about themselves. One woman, Gloria, said Connie had gotten bougie about her problems since the fall. She said it lightly, as a joke, but Connie heard underneath it the sound of someone who was still in stage one, still in motion without direction, and who was uncomfortable watching someone step out of that loop. Connie smiled and said nothing. Gloria was not wrong that something had changed. She was wrong about what it meant. By February, the tin in the closet had $108 in it. The index card still said, enough. But she had moved the tin from behind the winter coats to the shelf at eye level, where she could see it when she opened the closet door. It was small, it was visible, it was hers. In March, a woman named Angie started through the agency, younger than Connie by about 8 years, recently out of a relationship that had taken most of what she had saved, starting over in a city she had moved to for someone who was no longer there. They were assigned to the same client one Thursday, a handoff shift. Connie finishing, Angie starting. They sat together for 20 minutes in the client's kitchen while Connie walked her through the routine. At some point, the client fell asleep in the next room, and they were quiet together in the kitchen. And Angie looked at the table and said, "Can I ask you something? How long have you been doing this work?" Angie fatin. Rubinder Sassis. Haskasiu. Abisoftu. If you can book him as a Sashika, to be for Sitiros, if you miss work, and you put Yamakata, Ebisika Purizifata, Aponia Furisetika. 11 years, Connie said. Angie nodded, turned her coffee cup in her hands. Do you feel like you're getting ahead, financially? Connie looked at her. The question was not casual. It was the question of a woman standing in a specific kind of dark. I do now, Connie said. It took me a long time. Angie looked up. What changed? Connie thought about the laundromat, about the woman in the housecoat with her hands resting open on her knees, about the warmth and the dryers and the door swinging closed, about a bucket and a hole that doesn't care how hard you pour. I stopped trying to fill the bucket before I fixed what was draining it, she said. Angie was quiet. I kept making plans for the life I thought I should have instead of the life I actually had. And every time it fell apart, I thought it was me. That I wasn't disciplined enough, wasn't smart enough, wasn't trying hard enough. She paused. But the plan was wrong, not me. The plan was designed for someone else's income and someone else's emergencies. Once I made a plan that was honest about my real life, it started holding. Angie set her cup down. Her eyes were bright. You can't fill a bucket while the bottom's still open, Connie said. You fix the bottom first, whatever the hole actually is, for your actual life. Then you pour. They sat together in the kitchen while the refrigerator hummed and the client's breathing came through steady and slow from the next room. After a while, Angie said, I think my hole is that I plan for the month I want, not the month I'm going to have. That's most of us, Connie said. That was me for 12 years. She stood to gather her bag. On her left wrist, the rubber band sat, the same as always. But it sat differently now, lighter, less like a reminder of a kitchen table she had been ashamed of, and more like a quiet mark of the woman who had made a promise and then, finally, found the right way to keep it. At the door, Angie said, Thank you. Connie put on her coat. Outside, the March sky was wide and pale, and the kind of cold that is almost done. She thought about the tin on the eye-level shelf. $108, a real number in a real plan for a real life. She thought about the word on the index card. Enough. For the first time, she thought it might be a description as much as a destination. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly, even if it is just in your own head where no one else can hear. Which stage are you in right now? Are you in stage 1, working hard, trying everything, exhausted from the motion of it, but not sure what the actual whole is yet? Are you in stage 2, the hard one, the honest inventory, the one that requires you to look at the real numbers instead of the ones you wish were there? Are you somewhere in the middle, knowing what the problem is but still negotiating with yourself, still leaving the back door open? Or have you already found your way through? Have you already fixed the bottom of the bucket? Maybe not perfectly, maybe not all the way, but enough to see the water actually rising for the first time. Wherever you are, this is not a judgment. Connie spent 12 years in stage 1. 12 years. And she is still here. And she is still going. And the water is rising. Come down to the comments right now and type Dia 1 and tell me what stage you think you are in and one honest thing about the whole you are going to look at today. I want to read every single comment. I mean that. And if this story hit something real in you, please share it. Send it to the woman you know who is working 2 jobs and wondering why the numbers still don't add up, who blames herself, who is tired in a specific and quiet way that no one around her seems to understand. She needs to hear that the bucket is not the problem. She is not the problem. The hole is findable, and finding it is the beginning of everything. I will see you in the next one. Keep going. The bottom is fixable. I promise you it is.